when brothers pull the trigger. The top 5 times friends killed friends in Chicago drill culture. A Streets Are Talking full documentary episode. There is a specific kind of grief that has no name in any language. Not the grief of losing someone to a stranger. Not the grief of a random act, of being caught in the current of violence that runs through this city and finding yourself in the wrong place at the wrong moment when it finally arrived. That grief is devastating. It is permanent, and it is soul-altering, and it does not leave you the same person you were before it visited you. But that grief has a shape. It has edges. The wound is clean in the way that external wounds can be clean. You know where it begins and where it ends. The person who hurt you was unknown. The act came from outside. You can point at it. You can name it. You can draw a line between your world and their world and stand on your side of it and grieve in the specific, dignified way that people grieve when the violence was committed by someone who was always the enemy. The grief that has no name is different. It is the grief of looking at the person who hurt you and recognizing the face, of knowing the name, of being able to recall the specific afternoon you spent with that person, the specific conversation you had, the specific meal you shared, the specific moment of complete and total trust that you gave them voluntarily, freely, without reservation, because you had never had a single reason not to. The grief of knowing that they were still holding that trust when they decided to use it against you in the most permanent way possible. It is the grief of being betrayed by someone who called you brother, not metaphorically, not in the abstract language of community solidarity and crew belonging. Literally, by someone who had been to your mother's house, by someone who knew your children's names, by someone whose phone number you answered without looking at the screen because checking would have felt like an insult to everything you thought you shared. In Chicago's drill era, across the 15 years of documented conflict history that this channel has spent years forensically reconstructing, this specific grief has visited more families, more blocks, more communities than the clean and straightforward narrative of rival formations and external enemies allows for. Because when you look honestly at the documented record, when you sit with the full weight of what the community has assembled across years of testimony and documentation, and the specific, painful accounting that people who were there are only now beginning to speak about publicly, you find a pattern that the mainstream documentation consistently avoids. Not all of the worst stories involve outside enemies. Some of the worst stories involve the person standing right next to you. Tonight, The Streets Are Talking is going somewhere most documentation content is afraid to go. We are not covering standard rival beef. We are not covering external threat dynamics or the clean, straightforward geography of two formations on opposite sides of a territorial line who want to destroy each other. We are covering 5 stories that sit in the darkest corner of the drill era's historical record. 5 stories where the wound came from inside, where the person on the other end of the transaction, the person who either pulled the trigger, facilitated the situation, or provided the access that allowed someone else to pull the trigger, was not an enemy, was not supposed to be. And we are telling all 5 stories with the same commitment to the full picture that this channel has always brought to this work. Not the dramatized version, not the version that is most convenient for any particular narrative. The forensic version, the honest accounting, the version that holds every person involved, the dead and the living, the accused and the exonerated, the men and the women and the children they left behind, with the full human weight each of them deserves. 5 stories. 5 men who were killed in circumstances where the mechanism of their death ran through the people who were supposed to protect them. Jaro City, Lil Mikey, FBG Cash, J Money, Blood Money. Their names carry forward. Tonight we carry their full stories. Stay with us, because this is going to be the most important episode this channel has ever made. He did 13 years. Let that number settle into your body, not as a statistic, but as a human experience. 13 years. From the mid-teens to 29 years old. From the moment when a boy is still becoming a man to the moment when a man should already have built the foundation of an adult life, a career, a family, a direction, something that belongs to him and that will still be standing when everything else falls away. 13 years of that specific, irreplaceable developmental window spent inside a state correctional facility in Illinois, removed from the block that built him, from the people he came up with, from the air and the light and the specific daily texture of life on Chicago's South Side that no prison environment can preserve or replicate. 13 years. When Jaro City Lil Mikey went in, he was a teenager, a face on the 63rd Street corridor, the stretch of Chicago's South Side geography that the Jaro City formation claimed as its home territory, operating within the Black Disciples umbrella, building its specific identity in the specific geography between 63rd Street and the surrounding blocks that constitute one of the most compressed and most complicated conflict landscapes on the South Side. He was known, he had standing. He was one of the faces that people in that world associated with Jaro City when they thought about who Jaro City was and what it represented. He went in for a charge connected to that world. He did the time without cooperation. He kept his name clean inside in the specific way that the streets code demands. Without paperwork, without a deal, without giving the people who ran the system the specific currency of information about the people around him that would have reduced his sentence and compromised his standing. 13 years. He did all of it. When he came home, released on parole in 2025, returning to the South Side of Chicago after more than a decade inside, he was 29 years old.
Joke, like, it be so much going on. I don't be knowing the people that
the new
like,
yeah.
They be like, look, welcome down from Jaro City, happy birthday. I be like, damn, this little nigga Jaro, like, I wouldn't know. Like, if me and him was in jail together on the deck, I wouldn't be able to be like, yeah, shorty from Jaro flood him. Like, I wouldn't even be able to get on this bumper. He could tell me he was a traveler from out west, and I'd be like, bet. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't know him. So to see faces.
Shoebox on the O and eat out. I'll be both of y'all last. Tell them to set this shit up. I'll be both of y'all last. Back to back. On forcing them. Let's get in that ring since y'all pushing positivity. Let's box. I done loaded up. Last time for me to drop. I done loaded up. I'm on that shit.
Oh, no, you know what you know. You gotta do that sometime.
I'm loading up. I ain't gonna lie. I'm on that. I'm finna drop. Consistently. I'm finna drop.
Take a little mental break, then load back up.
I'm about to drop.
A grown man by the calendar, but a grown man who had been frozen in time in the specific way that long incarceration freezes people, who had missed the entire arc of the drill era's explosion and evolution and reorganization, who had watched from inside as the world outside his cell became something that the world he remembered was only distantly related to. He had missed King Von's rise and Von's death. He had missed the FBG Duck murder and the federal prosecution that followed. He had missed the entire restructuring of Southside political alliances that the drill era's 15 years had produced. He had missed the specific reorganization of Jaro City itself, the changes in who held what positions, who had earned what standing, what the internal economy of the formation looked like now compared to what it had looked like when he went in. He came home expecting to find the world in approximately the position he had left it, expecting his rank, expecting his respect, expecting the specific acknowledgement that a man who does 13 years clean, who keeps his mouth closed, who doesn't compromise anyone, who pays the full price without reducing it through cooperation, is owed by the community he gave that sacrifice to. What he found instead was a formation that had moved on without him. Not in the sense of disloyalty, not in the sense that the people who remained had done something wrong by continuing to live and to build and to navigate the daily reality of 63rd Street while he was absent.
I got $7,000, $8,000 worth of clothes on, G. I'm good, G. I got a little nice something, you know? I'm good, G.
Yeah, make sure you know what I'm saying, from because shit ain't the same out there, folks. You gotta make sure
I'm on a different level. I'm on some whole
shit.
G, I got some whole other shit going on, G. I'm on a different level, G. I mastered this shit, G. I'm telling you, G. I mastered this shit. I don't pop yours, G, so I'ma die, G. Oh, no.
Alright, bitch. Hey, I'm gonna have.
They had done what people do when someone they know goes away for a long time. They kept going. They built their own hierarchies, developed their own understandings, established themselves in the specific ways that daily survival on an active Southside block requires. By the time Mikey came home, Jaro City had its own power structure, its own established faces, its own daily economy, and its own internal politics. All of it built in his absence, and all of it operating in ways that did not naturally accommodate the sudden return of a man who expected to step back into the position he had occupied 13 years before. The community's documented account of what Mikey did in response to finding this reorganized world, assembled across multiple Curicology threads and multiple YouTube videos posted in the months between his release and his death, is specific and consistent. He did not take the patient approach. He did not acknowledge that the world had moved while he was away. He did not do the specific work of reintegration that coming home from a long bid requires. The work of understanding what has changed, of finding the new position that exists for you rather than insisting on the old position that has already been filled. He applied pressure to his own block, to the people who had been holding things down in his absence, to the people who had been navigating Jaro City's daily reality through years that he was not present for, and who had, in his estimation, not adequately maintained the standing and the specific material respect that his history and his sacrifice had earned him. The Curicology community was documenting this trajectory in real time. A September 2025 thread, posted while Mikey was still alive, several months after his release, captured the specific community observation. He had been maintaining connections with Timb, a formation in the 63rd Street orbit that Jaro City had issues with, and he was simultaneously applying pressure to his own people, shaking hands with people on one side while demanding deference from people on his own side. The community read this pattern with the specific forensic clarity that comes from people who have been watching this kind of internal dynamic play out for years and who know exactly how it ends. Came home acting wild. That phrase, posted in a thread in the days after his death, is the community's compact summary of everything. Not acting wild toward the ops, acting wild toward his own people. Bullying the block that had built him, that had spent 13 years carrying his name while he was inside, that was supposed to be the constituency that his return would strengthen rather than destabilize. There was also a documented woman in the picture in the hours before Mikey's death, something the community referenced specifically in the reconstruction of his final movements. According to Instagram accounts from Chicago crime documentation pages posted on March 25th and 26, 2026, Mikey was sitting in a car at the gas station at 63rd and Drexel when a woman he was with went inside the station. He was alone in the vehicle. That specific moment of isolation, sitting in a car, without the immediate proximity of anyone who might provide a layer of protection in a geography that was both his world and his vulnerability, is the specific moment when whatever had been building reached its conclusion. He was shot more than 10 times. Multiple sources documented the shot count at 10 or more. He was in the car, a gas station at 63rd and Drexel, and here is the specific detail that carries its own weight in this story. The same intersection where Rel, another Jaro City member, had been killed the summer before. The same corner. The same specific geography where the block had already paid a price less than a year earlier. He was transported to the hospital. He did not survive. He was 29 years old. He had served 13 years inside and had been home for approximately 8 to 9 months. Big Mike, a figure with significant community standing in the Chicago documentation world, addressed the death directly in a video posted March 31st, 2026, titled, "Big Mike Speaks on Jaro City Lil Mikey Killed, Shot in Car on 63rd, and Backdoored at Gas Station." The word backdoored is the critical word in that title. Not killed by the ops in the clean, external sense. Backdoored. the specific term the community uses when the mechanism involves someone in your proximity using their access to create your vulnerability. A YouTube video titled Jaro City Mikey Killed on Parole After Bullying His Own Block circulated widely in the days after the shooting. Another title that circulated, Jaro City Lil Mikey Killed by Friend Split the Hood. Not by a rival formation, by a friend, someone who knew him, someone who had his number, someone who was close enough to know where he was going to be and why. The Drillin' Bop subreddit documentation of the incident referenced the backdoor angle explicitly. The community had made its assessment, not unanimously. Nothing in the documentation community is ever fully unanimous, but with the specific, convergent quality of a community that had been watching this situation develop, and that recognized the outcome before all the details were confirmed. Killa D from the 800 formation posted publicly about Mikey's death. Community members who had known him or known of him expressed grief that was, consistently, mixed with the specific, exhausted recognition of people who had seen this trajectory coming. He really was a main face of Jaro City, one Cheericology post with 164 upvotes stated, came home acting wild. His funeral was held in April 2026. 222 upvotes on the Cheericology post announcing it. 222 people in a community dedicated to documenting exactly this kind of loss, acknowledging that a 29-year-old man who had given 13 years to the state and who had come home wanting to reclaim his world was gone. Not to external enemies, according to the community's assembled account, not to the ops, but to the specific internal fracture that develops when a man who had been away too long comes home with too much force for the people who were holding things down to absorb. He was shot at the same corner where his block had already bled the summer before, in a car, alone, while the woman he was with went inside, 13 years inside, 8 months outside, shot 10 times in a gas station parking lot on the corner where his people had already been tested. The block that built him, the same block, the grief that has no name. This is what it looks like when you come home and you have forgotten, or you refuse to accept, that the world did not pause for you. That the people who kept things going while you were gone built something that deserves acknowledgement rather than pressure. That the standing you expect cannot be demanded. That it has to be rebuilt, patiently, humbly, with the specific recognition that 13 years away is not a credential that transfers automatically into the present tense. Lil Mikey forgot that, or he refused to accept it, and the specific cost of that refusal was extracted at a gas station on 63rd and Drexel on March 25, 2026. He left people who loved him. He left people who are still grieving him. And he left a story that the documentation community has been wrestling with ever since. The story of a man who survived 13 years inside only to come home and make the decisions that the community, watching from close range, knew were leading somewhere they could not stop. They couldn't stop it. They could only document it. And now, that documentation is the only form of accountability the record has for what happened to Jaro City Lil Mikey. He was 29 years old. He was a main face of Jaro City, and he came home acting wild. Of all 5 stories in tonight's documentary, this is the one that lives in the most specific and most painful category of tragedy. The category that has no moral framework strong enough to hold it. Not betrayal in the classical sense. Not the specific, calculated decision of someone who had once been a brother and who made a conscious choice to convert that brotherhood into a weapon. Not the long, slow erosion of trust that produces the kind of resentment that eventually looks for an outlet. Not the complicated internal politics of a formation under pressure, where old allegiances fray and new calculations take their place. This is the story of a bullet that did not know whose name was on it. Of a young man whose death was not the result of a specific decision made about him specifically, with his name and his face and his history in mind, by someone who wanted him gone. A young man who was in the wrong position at the wrong moment when the chaos of an active confrontation made the specific distinction between friend and enemy irrelevant to the physics of a bullet in flight. This is the story of TW, and it is in some ways the heaviest story in this entire documentary. Because the other 4 stories, however complicated their moral dimensions, however contested the specific details of culpability and intent, all involve decisions. Someone, somewhere in each of those stories, made a choice. A wrong choice, a devastating choice, a choice that cost someone their life. But a choice. TW's story does not have that. It has only the specific, permanent, morally weightless catastrophe of an accident that cannot be undone and that nobody on any side of the conflict designed or desired. TW was from the 63rd Street orbit. His formation, documented in the community as TWGG, operated in close alliance with Jaro City, sharing the compressed geography of the 63rd Street corridor, sharing the specific enemies and the specific allies that life on that stretch of the South Side produces. Not a separate formation in the sense of a distinct political entity with its own flag and its own territorial claim. An allied formation. People who moved together, who knew each other's families, who operated in the same daily world, and who were supposed to be on the same side of every confrontation. That supposed to be is where the story lives. Friendly fire is not an aberration in the documented history of Southside conflict. It is not a statistical outlier in the broader record of what happens when weapons are present, when confrontations are occurring in compressed spaces, when multiple people are moving and firing simultaneously, and the specific geometry of human bodies in a chaotic moment does not organize itself neatly according to the factional lines that defined everything before the shooting started. In the specific high-pressure environment of an active South Side confrontation, the kind of confrontation that the 63rd Street corridor has produced multiple times across the documented history of this era, the specific tragedy of a bullet finding the wrong body is a recurring element of the honest record. Not something anyone plans, not something anyone celebrates, but something that happens, something that the documentation community has been forced to reckon with across multiple formations, multiple incidents, multiple young men whose deaths did not come from the people who were supposed to be their enemies.
Because the motherfucker be like, oh, well, that's a Taquan world and all this. I'm finna get that shit straight too. I'm gonna nip this shit in the bud while I'm right here real quick. And that was Taquan world. Taquan was born and raised in Woodlawn. He knew everybody. He went to Dulles, he went to motherfucking Sexton. So he know Parkway, he know motherfucking the other side, okay? They grew up over here, so he's well fucking loved with his friends he grew up with. So yeah, they grew up, whatever. They Taquan world, okay? So what the fuck a lot of them people from Taquan world don't even fucking know Taquan. So a lot of that shit, what they doing, don't have a motherfucking thing to do with Taquan. Cause like I said, a lot of them that's Taquan world don't even fucking know my son. So keep his name out your motherfucking mouth with that Taquan world and he was a gangbanger, that's why it's Taquan world. That's some bullshit. Talk what the fuck you know and not what the fuck you hear. Cause I'm speaking straight mother.
TW was one of those men. The documented community account of his death, assembled across Chiricology threads, across the specific knowledge of people who understood the 63rd Street orbit and who had been following the conflict history of TWGG and Jaro City and the formations they were in conflict with, is consistent in its most basic finding. The bullet that killed TW came from the wrong direction, from the wrong gun, from someone who was moving through the same confrontation that TW was moving through, on the same side, with the same intention of directing that force outward toward the people they were supposed to be fighting. The specific mechanics of how it happened, who fired, from what position, what the target was, how the bullet traveled from its intended destination to TW's body, exist in the community's knowledge in the specific partial way that extremely sensitive information always exists in the documentation world, held by the people who were present, known in its fullness by the people who lived through it, and accessible to the public record only in its outline, the shape of what happened without every specific confirming detail. What the honest account can tell you is this: TW was not killed by his enemies. He was killed in a confrontation involving his own side, a bullet from his own world, not fired with his name attached to it, not directed at him with any intentionality or any prior decision that he needed to be removed, but traveling through the air in the specific, chaotic, undiscriminating way that bullets travel during the specific kind of confrontation that produces this outcome. And finding him, the person who fired that bullet has to carry that every day. Not the clean, defined weight of a decision made in anger or resentment or calculated self-interest. The specific, formless, unresolvable weight of an irreversible mistake. Of knowing that your hands, your trigger, your moment produced something that you would give anything to be able to take back, and that you cannot. You cannot take it back. The physics of the world does not allow for it. TW is gone, and the bullet is gone, and the moment is gone, and the only thing that remains is the specific permanent knowledge of what happened, and the specific permanent reality of a young man's life that ended in a confrontation where he was supposed to be protected by the people around him. The TWGG and Jaro City Alliance, the specific operational alliance between these formations that constituted TW's social and community world, absorbed the loss in the specific way that tight communities absorb the most incomprehensible losses, with grief that had nowhere clean to direct itself, with the specific raw human reality of mourning someone whose death cannot be organized into the standard framework of enemy and retaliation and accountability that the conflict landscape usually provides. There is no retaliation for a friendly fire death. There is no enemy to hold responsible. There is no opposing formation that can be targeted in the specific accounting that the street's moral framework usually demands in response to a member's death. There is only the grief and the specific impossible weight of the person who fired the shot continuing to be present in the same world as the people who are grieving the person they lost. That weight does not go away. The community documentation of the TWGG and Jaro City orbit in the period following TW's death captures the specific, heavy quality of mourning that this kind of loss produces. Grief that is complicated by the inability to resolve it through the mechanisms that the community's framework usually provides. No one to blame in the external sense. No rival formation to hold accountable. No clean narrative of enemy violence and community solidarity in response. Just the specific heavy fact of a young man who was in the wrong position at the wrong moment when the chaos of a confrontation on the 63rd Street corridor did not discriminate between the people who were supposed to live through it and the one who did not. The Chicago documentation community has sat with TW's story for years, has discussed it in the specific, careful, incomplete way that the community discusses incidents where the full truth is held by people who were there and who have reasons for not putting every detail into public record, has acknowledged the pattern, the recurring documented reality that friendly fire is part of the honest history of this conflict landscape, without always being able to name the specific people involved or the specific mechanics of specific incidents. TW is part of that pattern. A specific, real, named young man who is part of the broader, documented reality of what happens when the violence that defines this environment is present in spaces where allies and enemies are sometimes occupying overlapping geography, and where the specific chaos of a live confrontation does not organize itself neatly according to the lines that define everything before it starts. He should have survived. The bullet was not for him. The confrontation was not about him. The weapon that killed him was pointed at someone else, by someone who was on his side, who would have given anything to have that moment back. He did not survive. He was young. He was from the 63rd Street orbit. He was allied with Jaro City. He was supposed to be on the same side as the weapon that killed him. In this specific world, that is sometimes the most dangerous place you can be. Not in front of your enemies. In front of the chaos that neither side fully controls once it starts. In front of the physics of a bullet that does not know whose name is on it until it has already arrived. The grief for TW in the 63rd Street orbit, in the TWGG and Jaro City world, has never fully resolved. How could it? The frameworks that the community uses to process the loss of its members require someone to hold accountable. An enemy, a rival formation, a specific decision-maker who can be named and targeted, and whose accountability can transform grief into something actionable. TW's death does not offer that transformation. It offers only the grief, and the specific, lifelong weight of everyone who was present in that confrontation carrying the knowledge of what the moment produced. He was from the 63rd Street corridor, he was allied with Jaro City, he was young, and the bullet that killed him came from the wrong direction. Tristan FBG Cash Hamilton was 31 when he was killed on the morning of June 10, 2022. The Chicago Sun-Times confirmed it that morning. ABC7 Chicago confirmed it. 2 gunmen, a black Cadillac, Auburn Gresham, South Side, 13+ shots, a 29-year-old woman wounded but surviving. Hamilton transported and pronounced dead. The formal record is clean. Dates, times, a body count, a neighborhood. What the formal record cannot give you is the full story. Before the controversy, the person who Tristan Hamilton actually was. Documentation treated him as a mystery in debates about FBG and OBlock. He was a person. He was FBG Cash. The person deserves to come before the controversy. FBG, Flyboy Gang, an influential, complicated drill-era formation. Cash was beloved. Beloved means genuinely loved. People remember warmth, humor, presence. The room felt different when he arrived. His brother FBG Young described him with raw grief. Their mother passed a year later. Cash survived things that should have killed him. The record includes multiple near-death incidents.
But I believe you and him.
People don't know this, but I with Cash. I talked to Cash the day that he died. I talked to him on the phone. I can show the phone records. Me and Cash used to talk all the time. You know what Cash used to call me and say? And Young and Dutchy from STL, FBG, y'all goofy ass can see this and y'all gonna say the same thing. Cash would call me with them and say, I ain't gonna lie, record your ass getting hella money. How you be getting that money? You know, I hop on there and show y'all this real Cash. Like, I'll show you that I'm living good life, so I'm doing whatever. And then he be like, how you getting money? I be like, what you mean? I do. I like the music. And he like, so what I gotta do? Like, I'm like, man, you gotta keep doing what you're supposed to be doing type of. So that was always my homie. And then he used to always say this, Cash, I swear to God, on my son and my daughter, Cam, if I'm lying, I can die right now. YB, take that blick out, shoot me in the head if I'm lying, folks. Look, peep this. Cause YB, he concealed and carried. The folks in this strap, we were gonna happen at this moment. I don't know what niggas thought, but anyway. Anyway though, motherfucker, Cash called me like, man, bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. A lot of people don't know this, but folks in them tried to bother you. Folks in them thought they was finna bully you and you just wasn't going. Like, you just wasn't going. Like, and I respect you for that, my nigga, on phone grade. Like, and there was a mutual respect for him. Like, I fucked with him. Like, it's all it was. So when he signed that deal, because people didn't know, right before he died, he signed the deal. And he was in Houston a lot. If anybody know, we know that I be in Houston a lot. So hella people from Houston that fuck with me, like, be around him, and they'll call, like, because I got real people that fuck with me, and they'll be like, hey, Cash out here, what you want us to do to him? I said, that's my nigga. Man, put him on the phone, that's my nigga. Like if he want to do a song with certain artists that I fucked with, and he just met them, they call me like, hey, is it, like, what's the Cash out? Is he up to you? I say, nah, folks, like, I'm just in tour with niggas, with his goofy ass friends, but that's my boy, he good. And whatever you need, accommodate him. That's a good brother. So the day that he died, I swear to God, I'm gonna tell y'all what happened. Y'all don't know this, but Cam, you get real merch out of me on front of grade. You get real merch. So he called me. I'm driving from Los Angeles to San Diego. From the car, Cash call. He, what's up, gang? What's up, gang? I'm like, where you at? He like, man, I'm in Iraq. I say, when you just in Houston? He like, yeah. He pull out a Draco with a fucking clear clip. Yeah, I'm in Iraq, but I'm good though. I say straight up, as a brother, as a friend, I say, man, bro, I ain't gonna lie, Scud, that don't mean nothing. Everybody got them bitches, Scud. Man, go back to Houston, Scud. They was showing you love out there. You was out there in the Rolls Royce. You was shooting your videos, and he was going somewhere. Even though he had to make hella diss songs, like, but he was going somewhere. Like, and I'm like, bro, get back to that good environment, Scud. Chicago snaked out for they backdoor. Like, you ain't gonna be able to do your thing. Man, fuck that. Ain't nobody gonna do shit. I got this Drake. I say, folks, you ain't Lil Wayne, Scud. You ain't the only nigga with a Drake scud. Everybody got Drake scud. Like, everybody got switches and shit. Like, you got a switch in your Drake? Like, it's busting in the rack for real. That nigga died like 5 o'clock that morning. I had a conversation with him like 4 in the afternoon. He died 5 o'clock that morning. And like, I ain't like it between me and you, but shit, it's what come with this shit. Like, you was loose as hell. You trying to ride around with holes in the rack. Come on, bro. Ain't no doing that, Scud. You know better. Like, respect this about Scud. They say that when he knew it was over for him, he looked at the bitch and clapped her ass. Oh, fold him out and clapped her ass too. They said when he knew the bitch set him up, he fat her ass up. Because as a nigga, if you gonna go out, that's how you go though, on the RIP.
About a week before June 10th, he was shot near 81st and Vincennes, confirmed online. He survived and kept moving. Allegations then consumed the documentation that he backdoored his own people regarding FBG Duck. The counter-allegation, his own people backdoored him. These are allegations, not settled fact.
Interview. FBG Young has some things to say about you.
Young, cuz, I don't want to talk about that. Tell him go slide for his brother. Don't talk to me. Tuga, tell him stop talking about me, worry about me and what I got going on Tuka, and stop blaming the ops for Cash whoop. Because the ops ain't killed Cash. On Tuka, that's what motherfuckers need to worry about. Because if a motherfucker killed my motherfucking blood brother and still walking this earth, on Tuka, I wouldn't be rapping about my homie. I wouldn't be in interviews bashing my homie. I'd be trying to catch a cap, bitch. And I'm done. Next question, please.
FBG Duck, Carlton Weekly, killed August 4th, 2020 on Oak Street in the Gold Coast. 6 people convicted under RICO. DOJ confirmed OBlock affiliates in January 2024. Charles C. Murda Liggins convicted for the murder. The circulating allegation said Cash communicated with OBlock in ways that enabled Duck's vulnerability. Cash publicly denied it, including in interviews. He remained present in the FBG orbit despite the shadow. November 2023, FBG Buddha alleged Cash was backdoored by his own people. A Cheericology thread captured the debate. Top comment urged caution. Treat Buddha's claim as a data point. April 11, 2024, a circulating account introduced the Big Dale angle. Claiming Big Dale arranged a hit over the death of Fat Shawty. The community reaction split between plausibility and skepticism. Others blamed external enemies. All accounts agree on the mechanism. 2 gunmen, a black Cadillac, 13+ shots, Auburn Gresham. Targeted, not random. Specific operational knowledge placed Cash at that location that morning. Such knowledge came from somewhere. Someone with access to his movements. Whether from inside FBG or elsewhere, the honest account cannot confirm with evidentiary certainty. What is certain, Cash lived 2 years under a serious unresolved allegation and carried it with dignity. Then, he ran out of mornings. Tristan Hamilton, FBG Cash, 31, loved by those who actually knew him. Gone, June 10, 2022. His brother lost his mother a year later. The community still debates what happened and why. He deserved better than the allegation before his death and the debate after. He deserved more mornings. The black Cadillac made sure he didn't get them. J Money. September 2nd, 2013. Labor Day. Jerome Wood, J Money, J Munna. OBlock, Parkway Gardens, OTF. He had a young son, confirmed by Chicago police. The killer was Lil B from STL EBT. Lil B was later killed by Chicago police on March 29, 2014.
That's so crazy, y'all. I don't even mean to bring this up, though. But y'all know the way my baby daddy got killed? He got shot 14 times, 10 times in the body, 4 times in the head. You know that same way? That's the same way Lil B got killed by the police.
Okay, I gotta go.
He got shot 14 times.
And you...
So since both of them deceased, did Lil B killed your baby daddy?
Yeah.
Yes.
This shit is total...
Operational intelligence, proximity, and trust put J Money in a vulnerable position. 63rd Street Corridor, Jaro City, STL, EBT geography. He was at his best friend's house. Smokey, OBlock Smokey, had a baby. Cray from EBT, an intimate tie across faction lines. Allegation, access to J Money's movements created conditions for Lil B to find him. Detail preserved by the record, J Money was folding laundry. Lil B arrived and shot him 14 times. 10 to the body, 4 to the head, stood over him. Specifics cited by Mona Lisa in a December 2025 Instagram reel. J Hood said J Money was set up by a girl, killed in Ops territory. After community understanding solidified, Smokey relocated out of Illinois. Documented departure. Not a confession, but part of the record. A second layer sits in tension. Mona Lisa's allegation, later denied in a 2025 FYBJ Maine interview. FYBJ Maine told it was safe to come to OBlock. These statements conflict. The honest account cannot resolve them. February 2024 community thread, J Money's weapon later recovered with an OBlock member, illustrating tangled proximity rather than simple lines. The human center is simple and hard. Jerome Wood was 21, a father, in his best friend's house, folding laundry, 14 shots. His son grew up without him. Mona Lisa has carried public grief and scrutiny for 12 years. Smokey carries her part of the weight wherever she went. The grief that has no name. Save the heaviest for last. That is the documentary rule. It is heavy in its own right. The death of a 30-year-old man who was somebody's cousin, somebody's father, somebody's best friend. It is last because it is the most unresolved. Of all 5 stories, Blood Money's remains publicly contested, where the allegation has driven major conflict, where the word of the dead man's family has been overshadowed. Mario Hess, Blood Money, Big Glow, born February 13th, 1984, Chief Keef's second cousin, GBE signee, from the Front Street formation, from the Yo 61 corridor, from 61st Street and Indiana Avenue. He was 30 on April 9th, 2014, shot multiple times outside his family's home in West Englewood, shot 10 times. Killed around 9:30 p.m., per police and news reports. He was pronounced dead. He was 30 years old. Before the allegation, we need to know who he actually was. The documentation ecosystem treated him as a variable in someone else's argument. He was Chief Keef's second cousin, an actual familial bond. To be Keef's cousin in April 2014 meant proximity to cultural power. It meant a specific standing in the community. Blood Money built his own standing separate from that connection. His GBE signing acknowledged his talent and Front Street identity. He was not riding his cousin's name. The Interscope deal is what the family pointed to as motive. The family said he was murdered out of jealousy. He had just signed with Interscope Records. He was weeks, perhaps days, from announcing the deal. The signing represented economic mobility, a visible pathway out. Jealousy, not a rival formation, the family said. The killer was someone in his immediate world, someone who knew him, someone who knew about the Interscope deal. The family also says the killer died in 2015. The survivor who was shot that night corroborates the family's account. Now, OBlock's J Hood. J Hood alleged King Von and T-Roy killed Blood Money. King Von was dead by then. T-Roy was dead earlier. Neither can answer. The documentation community amplified J Hood's claim over first-party testimony. Consider the source hierarchy. Family and survivor versus J Hood. The ecosystem chose J Hood's account. Consequences followed. The escalation between OBlock and Front Street may be rooted in a claim the family says is wrong. King Von publicly paid respects to Blood Money after his death. You do not publicly honor a man you killed. Chief Keef reconciled with Lil Durk in 2022. If Keef believed OBlock killed his cousin, reconciliation would be impossible. Nutso from Yo 61 insists, it was not Von, not T-Roy. The killer is dead. Social media conflicts force Blood Money's son, Lil Blood, to defend his father's name. Mario Hess. Blood Money, Big Glow. Born February 13th, 1984. Second cousin to Chief Keef, Front Street, Yo 61. Signed and almost ready to announce an Interscope deal. Shot 10 times outside his family's home on April 9th, 2014. His family says jealousy was the motive. The killer died in 2015. It was not OBlock. The survivor agrees. The honest record centers them. The grief that has no name.